Welcome to the Shield database. Please enter your access code. Welcome, Agent. Matt Murdock has many friends in his civilian life willing to do anything for him. However, one could argue that his social life when donning the Daredevil costume is much more exciting. Being a man who is loyal without fault to the city of New York, Daredevil has come into contact with virtually every vigilante and superhero who operate there. Occasionally he will strike up a friendship with one of them and assist or be assisted in protecting the citizens of Hell's Kitchen or even the world as a whole. Frank Castle and Matthew Murdock have an interesting relationship. Both hope to rid New York of crime but have very different methods for going about it, with neither respecting the other's way of dealing with criminals. Frank's willingness and talent for killing those who would do harm to innocent people repulses Daredevil, just as Matt's faith in the justice system and due process seems to Frank as cowardice. Their differing moralities has led to the two men fighting against each other as often as they fight alongside. However, underneath it all, there is a respect within both of them for the passion their rival shows for the cause. A cause they both agree on. Linda Jane Carter was born in Allentown, New York. She is the daughter of a doctor and went on to graduate from medical school herself, becoming a registered nurse and moving to New York City. It was here that she was attacked in the street and rescued by a costumed vigilante. After this, she dedicated herself to helping the superhero community. To do this, she opened up a secret clinic in the city where injured crime fighters would be able to come and get patched up without the fear of revealing their true identity to the public. She became dedicated to caring for the entire superhero community but formed particularly close relationships with Captain America, Doctor Strange and of course Daredevil, possibly the one man who has took advantage of her services more than any other. Luke Cage, formerly Carl Lucas, is another vigilante whose life as a young man on the streets of New York was difficult. Despite being a criminal and part of a gang, when Lucas was eventually imprisoned, it was for a crime he was innocent of. His time in Seagate prison was not easy, as many of the guards did not like him and he soon found he had a target on his back. Eventually he was experimented on and given superhuman strength and durability. He used his new power, however, to leave his criminal life behind and instead become, not only a hero, but one of the most morally unshakable men in the city. He has in his time teamed with almost all of the street-level heroes of New York, and after his partner, Iron Fist, and wife, Jessica Jones, considers Daredevil one of his closest friends. Daniel Rand is one of the few heroes capable of beating Daredevil in a hand-to-hand fight. He is the product of mixing the ancient teaching of the mythical city of Kunlun with the mean streets of New York and the power of a billionaire. Unlike many superheroes, Danny was not given his abilities in an accident or experiment, but instead had to work for them and prove himself the most capable against a sea of competitors. He now uses his abilities to fight the guilty while using his money to help the innocent. He and Daredevil have much more in common than martial arts, however, and have formed a bond strong enough that Danny was willing to impersonate Daredevil for an extended period in order to show the press and the police that he and Matt Murdock could not be one in the same. Maya Lopez is a Native American who was born deaf. Her father was murdered on the orders of Wilson Fisk and just before dying, left a bloody handprint on her face. She is able to perfectly recreate the movement and actions of others after watching them for long enough, and as a result she has mastered a number of martial arts and is incredibly dangerous. Fisk soon picked up on this ability and was able to convince her that it was Daredevil who was responsible for the death of her father. After a brutal battle, however, Maya discovered the treachery and became close allies with the Man Without Fear and a sworn enemy of the Kingpin. Since that time she has branched out into the superhero community, joining the new Avengers as the first person to use the Ronin identity, and partnering with Moon Knight. The man known only as Stick is the leader of an elite order of warriors known as the Chaste. However, virtually nothing is known about him other than that he is blind and so felt compelled to mentor young Matt Murdock in not only coming to terms with his newfound blindness but relishing it and mastering his other senses. He also trained him in martial arts so that he could one day be a useful weapon in the Chaste's never-ending war against the Hand. As such, Stick is the longest-running constant in Matt's life, the only person he has whom he has known since childhood. Matt eventually indirectly introduced Stick into Elektra's life and he was able to improve her already substantial amount of fighting skill, and the three Elias all fought the Hand for years until eventually Stick was killed, taking down over 40 Hand soldiers. This heroic death stuck for many years. However, he was eventually revived through cosmic means and was last seen in a pub in the UK. Blind Spot is the closest thing Daredevil has had to a sidekick. An illegal Chinese immigrant who, like Daredevil, fought to protect his neighborhood, in his case Chinatown. Blind Spot uses a suit of his own design which grants him invisibility and combines this with martial arts learned from months of intensive training from Daredevil himself. Together they have fought the Hand in an effort to rescue Chung's mother and fought the sadistic yet artistic serial killer Muse, who blinded Chung but was eventually killed by him after he, in a moment of weakness, accepted help from the Hand, who not only gave him his sight back but also gave him enough power to defeat his tormentor. Chung went on to help liberate New York from Hand occupation and was recruited by the Ordo Draconum, an organization, much like the Chaste, dedicated to eradicating the Hand once and for all. Natalia Alienovna Romanova is one of the most accomplished S.H.I.E.L.D. agents on record. Mixing her time between being a super spy for S.H.I.E.L.D. and a superhero in the Avengers, it is difficult to imagine where this ex-KGB agent found the time to not only become one of Matt Murdock's closest allies but also his long-term, live-in girlfriend, with the pair even moving to San Francisco together. Their relationship was tumultuous, with jealousy stemming from not only Natalia over Daredevil's friendship with Moondragon but also from her former lover Hawkeye, who Daredevil eventually had to battle. Eventually, Black Widow's induction into the Avengers spelt the end for their relationship as she decided to focus solely on her work as a hero. Although years later she did admit to Matt that she had never stopped loving him. Elektra Natchios, alongside Karen Page, is one of the great loves of Matt Murdock's life. Meeting at Columbia University, the two soon began a relationship which ended when the death of her father caused her to return to her native Greece. She was eventually trained by Stick to fight alongside the Chaste but ultimately turned her back on them, siding with their mortal enemy the Hand. This new vocation set her on a crash course back into the life of Matt Murdock, who, despite being on the opposite side of her war, still loved her as powerfully as ever. Her skills proved valuable to Matt's enemy the Kingpin, and in a further act of betrayal, she became his #1 assassin. This, however, caught the attention of Bullseye, who promptly tracked her down and murdered her. She was resurrected by the Chaste and from then on fought on the side of good, and while she has frequently shown up in Matt's life ever since, their connection is not as strong or as passionate as it once was. Peter Parker was bitten as a teenager by a radioactive spider and was granted a myriad of abilities, making him one of the most effective superheroes New York has. He has been one of Daredevil's closest friends since the earliest days of their careers, and they are one of the most recurring duos in the superhero world. They have, at times both been completely aware of each other's secret identity and often hung out not only on rooftops as Spider-Man and Daredevil but also at each other's apartments or in bars as Peter and Matt. They have bonded through fighting crime together, frequently coming up against each other's foes, and they have bonded over their similar experiences, having both lost the woman they loved to supervillains. In fact, Spider-Man played a major part in helping Matt come to terms with the loss of Karen Page, the most difficult time in his life. Their bond is unshakable and unlike any other in the hero community.